Hi, everybody. This is David Ellefson, and you are listening to Thunder Underground.
Welcome to episode 287 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent and Jason here as always. And this week, we've got the return of David Ellefson from Megadeth on this podcast. What do you think about that?
I'm stoked.
Same here.
And we got like 10 minutes longer. We got 30 minutes this time with him.
Oh, was last time about 20?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is great. And, you know, he's a super dude and talks about all kinds of shit. Fuck yeah. I mean, what's not to like?
Right. Yeah, we get into a lot of cool stuff about the Ellefson album that's coming out in October. And a few other things, and we're going to get to that. We're going to play some music. We got a few things to talk about as well. First off, I should have mentioned this on the last episode, but happy birthday. Your birthday was this past week.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
And as part of your birthday, you got an advance copy of Napalm Death's new album.
I sure did.
And we actually just recorded a video for that. It'll be on our YouTube page. By the time you're hearing this episode, it's on our YouTube page.
Exactly. It was, it showed up a week before it came out.
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow, actually, Friday,
right.
September 18th.
It was a great present for my 26th birthday.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, whenever you were born, Napalm Death was already heavy into it in 94.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm old as fuck, so whatever.
Right. But yeah, so that was a cool surprise for your birthday, and we both checked it out, and it's a cool album. If you
great record
have ever dug some Napalm Death, I think you'll really dig this. It's the first album in 5 years, and it's going to kick some ass. It's out this weekend, so check that out for sure. But first, before we get into everything else, we need to let you know who we're sponsored by and who keeps this thing going for us. And that would be DEB Concerts, a promoter right here in Tulsa that's brought a ton of great acts to downtown Tulsa to the IDL Ballroom. They also booked the Roadhouse stage at Rocklahoma. They've brought in bands like Saxon and Last in Line and Warrant, Winger, LA Guns. This past weekend, Phil Lewis played the IDL Ballroom solo acoustic in a socially distanced show. And then guess what? They just announced October 23rd, the mighty, I put the word mighty in front of it, the mighty John Corabi is coming back to Tulsa. And when I say mighty, I mean it because this is like one of my favorite singers of all time.
Right? I mean, yeah, sang on one of my favorite records on the planet, so.
He is the voice of Motley Crue that can still sing live.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he'll be at the IDL Ballroom October 23rd. That's a Friday night. And I'm sure it'll be the same way, socially distanced. I know they had tables set up. The IDL has a new system put in place that actually pulls any airborne germs out of the air, basically. It's like a ventilation system that's meant for, surface germs and stuff, and it gets 99.9% of them. So that's a thing that a lot of clubs don't have. Get on debconcerts.com for ticket info for that and any other upcoming shows, and to keep up to date on any rescheduled shows as well. And we'll, of course, keep you up to date here ourselves. Also, MedFarm is a dispensary located in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 24683 East Highway 51. They're right off the highway. They have a drive-through, which is something that most dispensaries don't offer. You can call ahead or text ahead and then just drive right through and pick up your order. You can also go in there and check them out. You can look ahead online at leafly.com to see their entire selection. Follow them on Facebook. That's MedFarm, PHARM. Instagram is MedFarmOK. And their website's medfarmok.com. If you tell them that you heard about them on Thunder Underground, they'll give you 10% off your first order, which is really cool. And above all else, 30% of their proceeds are going to build no-kill animal shelters. So that's a huge reason why you should frequent MedFarm over any other dispensary in this area, because you're helping the animals. And a huge thank you to MedFarm for their continued support. We've also got Sunset Tattoo, a tattoo shop right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma as well. They're at 3415 East 15th Street, right in the heart of Midtown, right near Merritt's Bakery. So get over there, buy yourself a piece of cake, And then you'll get a tattoo from Jake. That fucking rhyme. Now, when
God
you're trying
damn
to...
it.
That's
you did
amazing.
a fucking plug for Merritt's Bakery, and they don't even pay us.
Yeah, and I don't even like Merritt's Bakery.
Never been there. But now you're taking away from Jake's time.
That's
so
right.
You need to get back on the tattoo trip, dude.
That's right. Jake and his crew have over 25 years of experience. They're state licensed, and they are mother approved. Their tattoos are done good and proper. You can check out all their work on their Facebook, Sunset Tattoo Tulsa, and also their Instagram is full of photos as well, Sunset Tattoo Tulsa. Give them a call, shoot them a message, one or the other, to schedule a time so you can talk about what work you need to be done. And of course, let them know that you heard about them. Right here on Thunder Underground. And we'll be showing you pictures of our tattoos soon enough when we get them completed. And finally, Hella Hot Sauce is a hot sauce company located in San Francisco Bay Area of California. They just narrowly avoided some of those wildfires. Came pretty close to where they're at. I saw him post on Facebook. So
it's crazy shit, man.
Yeah. So a shout out to them. Glad that worked out for them. Because they're a great company. HellaHotHotSauce.com is where you can see all their products. You can buy them, and they'll ship to you anywhere. If you're on the West Coast, they sell them in a lot of stores as well. They've got some cool collaborations they do as well. Ghoul, a hot sauce called Brain Jerk. We had Digester from Ghoul on this podcast a year or two ago.
But yes, Hella Hot Sauce. Dude, we love you over there, and watch out for the exploding trees.
That's right. Florida Frank's Florida Heat's another collaboration they got from Florida Frank of Hatebreed. So check that out as well. It's great stuff. We've got some here. Hit up some Hella Hot Sauce and tell them we sent you.
Here, just
before
at the
we
top,
get into the music, let's
just at the top. While we're still, you had just mentioned LA Guns, Phil Lewis, all that. I just kind of wanted to shout out to Tulsa Music Stream, Scott and Jana.
Yeah,
they had Phil Lewis on the show recently on their show, and he was in person in their studio, which is fucking huge. And I saw it there. He's answering questions from the viewers, and
right.
That was great stuff. That's a big get for them, so congratulations. That's kind of one of the things I wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I caught the good majority of that, and it was really cool. And they, of course, did a great job. So check out Tulsa Music Stream. Just plug that into Facebook, and you'll find them. They're doing some cool stuff. They, of course, focus on Tulsa artists, but they've brought in stuff like Phil Lewis, and they've got an interview lined up with Lita Ford now as well.
Yeah, I mean,
can't go wrong there.
Yeah, and just like anything Scott and Jana do, it's top notch.
Yeah,
and they know what they're doing, so definitely a shout out to them.
Yeah, so check them out, and like I always say, tell them we sent you. All right, so let's play some music. Speaking of Tulsa, there's a brand new band in the Tulsa area called Medicine Horse. We'll tell you a little bit about who's involved and all that stuff when we get back. But this song is called The Turning Tide. Turning Tide, the debut single from the band Medicine Horse. This band features Kyle Williams on guitar, which that's odd to say, at least for me, and I think probably anyone, because he even said it himself, I think this is the first time he's been in a band where he's not singing.
Right.
We've had him on the podcast before, way back, and we've played his music and seen him live a bunch of times with some of his bands like Forever and Disgust and Smoke Offering and She the Serpent. Fantastic metal vocalist, but he's handling the guitars with this band. And Nico Albert is there on vocals. If you're in the Tulsa area, you've probably heard her name because, she's a well-known chef in this area as well. She does some killer vocals. I always love when I hear female vocals on sludgy, doomy type music.
Right.
Because there's bands out there, but they're not that common. And for her to sing as beautifully as she did, and then towards the end get guttural,
right.
She can do both. And then we've got Garrett Heck on the drums, who Garrett Heck's well known around here for basically his solo stuff. But this is a really cool project with a lot of stuff going on, and I dig everything I've heard from this song for damn sure.
Yeah, this shit is legit. It's right up our alley.
Yeah.
This is kind of stuff that just gets us going, and I'm sold. I'm in.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Crowbars of the world.
Oh, man.
Crowbars, COC.
Yeah.
All that kind of great stuff. If you're digging that, I can't wait to see what Medicine Horse has in store. Hopefully they have some more music coming soon so we can check all that out. But, I was talking to Kyle on Messenger, and he said, he can kind of chill out. And I'm like, well, you're still playing guitar, but, I guess, as far as not having to have the full intensity going he usually has on stage,
Right.
But yeah, so check out Medicine Horse. Give them a follow on Facebook. They've got a cool video for this song as well, so check that out. Let them know we sent you. All right. Well, speaking of stuff along that vein, Down. Recently, we've spoke about this a couple of times, but we didn't see it till later. Their live stream they did on, I think it was like August 28th or 29th. The same day as that Metallica drive-in show.
Right.
They did a live stream where they performed NOLA, their debut album, in its entirety. And we actually checked this out about a week ago. We watched it over at your place. Jason Carroll was over there.
HQ2.
Yeah, right.
Man, it was good to see Kirk back with him.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what else you were going to say. I just kind of took over, but, Phil sounded great. What a treat that was to see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that stood out the most, I think. Above all else is just how powerful Phil sounded.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It tells you that when all this shit gets back and going, Down is going to be a force to be reckoned with, as they usually were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not like Phil was ever bad, but, he had his periods where, he would ramble on stage. That's kind of always been his thing. But on this, it was more, I think you kind of mentioned it, more to the point.
Yep.
He'd introduce the songs. He'd do he was doing shout outs to random countries for some weird reason, and then dedicate the songs to him. And the songs sounded fantastic. Even on Pepper Keenan or Kirk Winstein or Jimmy Bower's worst day, they still sound better than most people. So
right?
And
yeah, exactly.
So, like you said, they had a ton of stuff planned for this year because this year was the 25th anniversary. They were going to do that album live in its entirety on a lot of festivals and other stuff to be announced. But so hopefully they'll still do that when the time comes.
Exactly.
It won't be a
and the thing is
25th anymore, but still.
Yeah. And I don't know how these live streams work, like in the way of you pay for it and you get the link, but it didn't take long. This fucking thing was on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I don't know, they probably need to get a hold on that somehow.
Right.
But hey, it worked out because I wanted to see it. We saw it.
That's right.
Well, so there you go.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the new Sons of Texas EP?
Sure.
Do you remember?
I don't know.
Because I kind of sprung that on you and we didn't prepare.
I've listened to it a few times, but it's been a week or two.
Yeah.
whenever it came out. I know that
came out the week before last.
Is it When the Crow Flies? As the Crow Flies?
As the Crow Flies.
I really liked it. I don't know that you and Jason Carroll liked it as much, but it kind of had a different sound. You know, there's a little bit of dissonance to it.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that, you know, because there's never anything wrong with kind of branching out a little bit.
Right.
So I really enjoyed this group of songs. And I like how they're doing things. You know, let's release 3 songs. Oh, here's another song. Well, let's release 3 more songs. So it's almost like you've got almost a whole other third record.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're doing it their way. And, you know, these are powerful, you know, the talent, the know-how is all there. In my book, Sons of Texas still hasn't let me down.
All right. Well, yeah, John Oliveris talked about that on the podcast when it was on here a few months ago, about how they were just kind of going that route with EPs for now, because it's kind of the way they do it, you know, and it's digital only. And I'm sure if they're out touring, they'd probably have discs for sale, you know, that kind of thing. But the first track, Preach to the Mirror, I think is pretty much along the lines of, you know, everything they've done, that we know the heavy stuff. But it's kind of the other 2 tracks that stood out as being a little different. And I think it was kind of my initial reaction when I first heard it. I was like, just kind of taken off guard, I guess. And it's not like they're like wildly different. Just kind of like you said, there's just a bit difference to it. And then after listening to it, I listened to this thing like several times in a row, and I really dug it. You know, As the Crow Flies is a slower song, and I think Mark Morales like really shines on that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, he's got that great voice that's kind of reminiscent of, you know, a lot of people compare him to Phil, but it's on the slower stuff where, I mean, I think, and you see it shines. Like, you see it on like his live streams, and then like the ballads they've had on the first 2 albums, and, you know, the last EP.
And the Mark Morton stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, you can't forget that. Like, did that cover of Black by Pearl Jam.
Which was amazing.
So, yeah, check out As the Crow Flies. It's been out now for almost a couple weeks. And these guys are doing it independently now, like on their own, with outside, no labels, distributions. So,
as they should.
Yeah. Buy the 3 songs, or buy some merch or something.
Right.
Especially during these times. That's what keeps these bands going and allows them to put out EPs and that kind of thing.
The COVID times.
Yeah.
You know, there's something, you know, before we get into, I don't know what you've got left. There's one thing I wanted to bring up. And I don't even know how old this is, but I just heard it for the first time the other day. I don't know. Do you like Code Orange at all?
I mean, I like them, but I don't really like delve too deep into them.
You know, I remember when they came out. I remembered when they came out, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. This is great shit. It's a little newish for me, you know. Maybe this might not be really for me, but it's fresh, and I really like what these guys are doing. And then, you know, the newer stuff they came out with this past year. I'm like, what the fuck? Are they trying to be 9 Inch Nails? What the fuck is this? And it was just like, I didn't get it. And again, it's probably not for me to get. But I just heard, the other day their cover of, Down in a Hole by Alice in Chains.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Oh man, I was literally moved by it. It was fucking spot on.
Okay.
It was like...
Was it a recorded thing? It wasn't like a live version?
It was a live thing at something.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm not going to pretend
like a serious type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
They totally captured the spirit of the song without just, you know, aping it and being a complete copy. It was haunting. It really got to you. So, I don't know if it's a Sirius deal. I heard it on Sirius, but I'm not sure what it's for. But go check it out. It is fucking stunning.
Oh, cool. I'll do that.
So yeah, that was one thing I had.
Yeah. That's the one thing, the biggest thing I think from all these, not live streams, but like Zoom performances and stuff that we've got throughout this whole pandemic era is there's been a lot of great covers.
Yes, there has.
And another one that knocked me on my ass, I forgot to even bring this up to you. I don't know, maybe I sent the video to you and Jason, but it's been out 2 or 3 weeks ago. Another Charlie Benante joint And this is with Mark from Death Angel on vocals and Mark Mingy from Metal Allegiance on bass.
Mm-hmm.
And then Charlie on piano, drums, and guitar.
Okay.
All three of them, like it shows him, playing all three. And then the only other instrument is Mark playing bass, and then Marco Suega singing Mother Love Bones, Crown of Thorns.
I need to look that up.
Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns. It's the two songs together. It's like 9.5 minutes long.
Okay.
They do the entire thing. And I mean, when I first saw that it was Mark singing, I'm like, well, I know this dude can sing.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, like Andrew Wood's vocals are a little above what you're used to hearing from Marco Suega. And he fucking nailed it. It was great.
He was great on the YouTube cover.
Of what?
I don't even fucking know. I don't know YouTube, but it was some YouTube song.
Was that with Charlie as well?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I guess I missed that one.
Yeah.
There's so many of these things I missed.
Who was it? It was God damn. Yeah, there's so many, but yeah. It makes you wonder. Mark Osegueda could probably be in a few different kind of genre bands.
True. With
what he can do vocally.
Yeah, you got to kind of wonder like why he's never done some other stuff. Just
right.
I mean, Death Angel's been pretty, active over the past at least decade.
Yeah, so there you go.
But yeah. So yeah, check out all those if you have not. But speaking of Mark Mingy, we've had him on this podcast before, and he's in a band called Metal Allegiance with one David Ellefson.
That's right.
There's a segue.
And that's who we have coming up on the show today.
Right. We've already had on David Ellefson, so there's been, 3 members of Metal Allegiance? The core group of Metal Allegiance, all 4 out of the 4 of them.
Right.
3 of them have been on here except for Mike Portnoy.
Yeah, Portnoy, you're next. We're coming for you.
That's right. Alex Skolnick, Mark Mingy, and David Ellefson twice. So there's 4 members. That's enough that covers the amount of people in Metal
Exactly.
Kind of moving into the David Ellefson stuff, he's got a band called Ellefson that features Tom Hazard on vocals, and they have a new album coming out in just about 3 or 4 weeks. I think it's October 2nd, so just actually like 2 weeks.
And I ordered the cassette already.
Did you?
Dude, you know me. Come on.
Absolutely.
I'm the cassette fucking nerd.
Cassette, it's going to have 17 tracks of cassette goodness there for you.
Can't wait.
So we've heard their cover of Wasted by Def Leppard. We actually played that on the last episode.
Right.
We've heard their cover of Free Will Burning from Judas Priest. Is that it?
I don't know.
I feel like there's something else we listened to.
Yeah, there was something else that we were...
The Cheap Trick.
Okay.
And, this has covers. It kind of spans the gamut. Like, you've got Nazareth, Love Hurts, like big hits like that. And then it's got Fight, Nailed to the Gun. And then it's got Fast Way. Tell me what you want, right? Or no?
Say what you
will. That's fucking Zebra.
Tell me what you want. Is that Zebra?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there and they were...
Cobra Kai.
That shirt was just on Cobra Kai.
Yeah. But anyway, Dave Ellefson gets into talk about all that stuff and about Mark Slaughter singing on the Fast Way song. And, he talks about the Fight song, several other things as well. But I'm really looking forward to this album based off the 3 tracks we've heard. Got a ton of covers this year from, like we just talked about, but it's kind of cool, especially when you get like super groups like this and these albums where it's got tons of collaborations, like Frank Cannon's on it and Troy Lucetta's on it.
Oh yeah, it's great
both
shit.
From Tesla. All kinds of, guys joining on this thing, and Bumblefoot's on a lot of songs. But before we get into that, one other thing I wanted to mention is since this is a key member of Megadeth, I wanted to throw out some love for Cryptic Writings. Because everybody always talks about, obviously, Rust in Peace, Countdown to Extinction. You even get some love for Euthanasia, as you should now and then. But usually all the love goes to those albums. Whereas I used to say Cryptic Writings was my favorite album, just to kind of like fucking shock people.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think, obviously it's got to be Rust in Peace or...
Yeah.
But Cryptic Writings is so good and so underrated, I think, in the grand scheme of things.
It really is.
And I think, I don't really know where I was going with that. I just wanted to bring it up because...
No, there's nothing wrong with, showing some love for Cryptic Writings. It was, and especially at that time, you've got Metallica doing Reload or Load, and, you've got this...
Reload, because that was like 97.
Yeah, these alternative doldrums of, like, Vertical Horizon and Dishwalla. It's like, god damn, dude. And, Megadeth just came along and gave us the solid metal kick that we all needed in the 90s, in the late 90s.
Yeah.
There's no rappers, there was no DJs. It was just the good meat and potatoes heavy metal that guys like us needed, to kind of keep us going.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, during that time, I mean, there was Pantera and,
right.
Sepultura, kind of had a tick up with Roots, and
even Pantera, right, at that time, was a great Southern Trendkill, and that was their most, dissonant, abrasive sounding record.
Right.
And we really needed something that was just straight up, crack open some cheap beer and fucking bang your head with your friends on a Friday night fucking heavy metal record.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No fucking, no deviations, no twists and turns. That was kind of the antithesis of what was going on then, was just doing a straight up fucking metal record.
Yeah.
God fucking forbid.
Yeah.
And they did it. And so there you go.
And Almost Honest is one of their greatest songs of all time.
I mean, my God.
She-Wolf, Disintegrators.
Yeah. Trust, Vortex.
Yeah.
Use the Man. Fight for Freedom.
Right.
I mean, come on, man.
I wish they'd play some more of those songs live every once in a
Right.
while. Every once in a while, like they win She-Wolf, and they do Trust a lot, obviously. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a fantastic album, and that was followed up with Risk, which was kind of like the opposite of everything you just described.
Exactly.
But Risk has a couple good points, Bread fan, good God. Breadline.
But see, a lot of people
absolutely
wouldn't agree with that, though.
With that song. Oh, yeah.
Breadline, yeah.
Because Breadline is straight up just like a hard rock ballad.
Right.
Like up-tempo kind of thing.
I wouldn't even say that Risk was bad. It was that was different.
It just wasn't Megadeth,
But I
I
can't tell you that I skip any songs when I put Risk on.
Really?
So if you want to make fun of me, go ahead. I don't give a fuck.
No, man. They had that, and then, a lot of people ripped on Super Collider. It came out, like 5 years ago now?
Right.
5 or 6 years ago? Maybe longer than that. And I absolutely love Super Collider. And that's kind of along the same lines as Risk, where it's more kind of, I wouldn't call it it's definitely not a thrash album.
Right.
But it's more along the line of just like a good heavy rock album.
Right. The good hard rock thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like what Risk could have been, in my opinion.
I see.
But see, I love that style of music just as much as I love thrash or whatever. And I mean, Dystopia, of course, was like worlds beyond better. Because, I mean, that's what you want from your Megadeth, I think.
I get that.
And, just everything kind of based off of what we've seen in the press, especially from Ellefson. Really looking forward to this new album whenever it comes.
Oh, man, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nailed to the gun. Fuck, I cannot wait.
Well, I meant Megadeth.
Oh,
but yeah.
Well, that Megadeth, yeah.
I mean, everything he's
Sorry.
been saying about, because he's said in some other interviews about, the new Megadeth album coming. But yeah, definitely. This Ellefson album we should have here in just a couple weeks. And definitely that track is the one I'm looking forward to hearing the most.
See, there you go.
And
that's how excited I am. I just went right over Megadeth. Holy shit. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Jason McMaster's on that thing.
Come on. Dude.
Yeah.
That's a guy we need to get on the podcast.
That's right.
Anyways.
Talk some broken teeth. Talk some
man.
dangerous toys. Teasing, pleasing. Sporting a Woody.
Scared. That's the best song.
Yeah, that is. All right, well, let's quit rambling and get into this thing. Here's David Ellefson of Megadeth and Ellefson. coming out. You guys have released the Wasted single. The cover for the album is kind of an homage to On Through the Night as well. So you're kind of pushing the thing with the Def Leppard homage, like kind of explain the idea behind the whole album cover and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually Tom and Melody Meyer's idea to do that. You know, Tom, because he knew what a big fan I was of that first Def Leppard record. You know, Tom is 10 years younger than me, so I joke that I quit buying records the year he started buying them. You know, but by 1983, when I moved to LA and Dave and I were starting Megadeth, you know, that was a time in my career where I got professional really deep into my own, you know, of my music and stuff. And I heard a lot of stuff going on around me because the radio was great in LA back then. There was KLOS and KMET were the two big premier stations. And then, of course, by the late 80s, early 90s, KNEC, you know, really upped their wattage and they, you know, it flipped their format and they played all metal and stuff. So it was, you know, LA radio was great. So, but, you know, by about the time Tom was getting into Pyromania, you know, that would be his kind of hit. You know, I always joke, I'm 70s Kiss guy, he's 80s Kiss guy, you know? And, you know, the On Through the Night record for me, you know, really epitomized a great young British act that made the new wave of British heavy metal seem possible for me, you know, that when obviously I'm not British, but when it was my turn up to bat, which I could feel it coming in the next couple of years when I was relocating from Minnesota to LA, you know, the Def Leppard guys with that one record, especially, and even their transition into High and Dry, I guess, but especially On Through the Night, man, that was just, you know, that one record because they were all teenagers. And, you know, so that record holds big significance. And, you know, the song Wasted I used to play in cover bands when I was growing up in Minnesota. You know, but I mean, look, we could have used the BTO album. You know, we could have recreated Sweet Desolation Boulevard too. You know, we could have put the five of us in my band out on Sunset Boulevard, just like the cover of Desolation Boulevard. So, you know, it's kind of fun to, you know, pick one, you know what I mean? Tom just happened to pick On Through the Night. That seemed to be the one for our album cover.
Well, you know, the song selection as a whole, I mean, was that these are the ones I want, or was it kind of by committee, kind of a joint thing?
No, not really. They really worked the ones I wanted. You know, Tom said, he goes, look, I'd love to do a Wasp song. So I said, look, let's make it, you know, Love Machine. That's probably my favorite Wasp song and one that I thought was fitting for the sound of our band. You know, he wanted to do, let's see, what else did he want to do? You know, Judas Priest, you know, and he's more of an 80s Priest fan. So Free Will Burning, which is obviously a great track. So, you know, he chose a few of them. Most of them were the ones that, you know, I just kind of went really deep back into my, you know, songs that really inspired me. I mean, you know, again, Sweet, you know, it's that you know, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Queen, Sheer Heart Attack, you know, Nazareth Love Hurts. I mean, these were songs like these tracks were coming on the radio when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. You know, I'm really young. And then I picked up the bass at age 11 and started putting bands together by the time I was age 12. So, you know, those excuse me, those tracks were really, you know, at Jump Street for me. You know, and then, you know, you know, so I think, you know, maybe Rebel Yell and of course, you know, Crocus Eat the Rich Eat the Rich actually was brought in by Dead by Wednesday. And they, a couple members of that band have been our backing band for when our Ellefson solo group tours the U.S. So they're a really great group out of Connecticut, and they, you know, they know the sound of what we do because they're part of our sound in the live setting when we tour. So I thought that one was cool. And you know, Crocus. Funny, my first exposure to Crocus was not on the Headhunter record. It was actually the record right before that. I saw them play when I went to Minneapolis to go see Rainbow. Had just gotten Jolyn Turner in the band, and Pat Travers was a three-piece again. Pat Thrall had just left the group, and so had Tommy Aldridge. And then Crocus had opened for them on Metal Rendezvous, was the album they were touring in support of. So when I got to LA a couple years later and I saw Crocus all over MTV with Eat the Rich, I was like, yeah, I remember that band. They had obviously updated their sound and their style, and they brought in the Judas Priest producer, Tom Allom, who really turned a corner for them and really dialed their sound in and, gave them a nice, really great kind of MTV modernized metal sounds that brought them great success, so definitely I'm a fan of everybody that's on this record, all the groups that we did, that we covered. And, for me, one of the things is, I know a lot of these guys now. They've become my peers professionally. And so when they hear these tracks, I want to put a smile on their face. I want them to go, damn, man, that's really good. Like, you guys did a good job on that.
The guests on each song, were they kind of what you envisioned for each song, or was it just more of a question of who was available at, the certain time?
First of all, it was to pick the right song. And then it was a matter of, okay, who's going to sing on it? Knowing Tom was going to be the primary singer, but that, Tom also has a very unique, kind of a stylized sound. Obviously, if you need to hit things hard, Tom is the guy. If you need to put some good kerosene and diesel on the voice, man, he's the guy. But there's a couple things we needed a cleaner voice. So, like, for instance, Sheer Heart Attack. And I didn't want to do, maybe some of the more popular Queen songs. I wanted to go back, A Night at the Opera was my first Queen record. And my two favorite Queen records are Night at the Opera and News of the World. And Sheer Heart Attack, funny, Death on Two Legs and Sheer Heart Attack are probably my two favorite Queen songs. So we opted for Sheer Heart Attack, and part of that was I said to Tom, I said, man, who's going to sing it? And he goes, dude, Bumblefoot. And I go, oh my God, of course, Bumble plays live with us a lot, and when we can have him, he's obviously quite busy himself. So we record a lot with Ron. We have him, join us for stuff. So, that was one where we wanted. I guess first we kind of picked the artist, then the song, and then the singer. And then even when we got it back, I thought, it needs a little bit of really clean, like almost a female voice on there. And we talked about some female vocalists, and we had just worked with Doro. Doro was just on the Mega Cruise with us. And so it was great to reconnect with her and bring her into our world. And she became the perfect little, kind of cherry on top vocally on that song.
When you guys were recording this, you recorded most of this during this pandemic, right? Like, did that make it like a tougher process than normal? I would assume, like trying.
No, I mean to be honest with you, we talked about this literally. I mean, I would say, I don't know, June 8th is probably when we talked about this.
Wow. And
literally, we started cutting tracks like literally that. Within like a day. I mean, we started sending ideas. We hit our guitar player, Andy Martingelli, who's based over in Verona, Italy. And we just said, hey, Andy, we're going to do this covers record. Here's like kind of the first 3-4 tunes we're thinking about doing. He said, no problem. I'll get to work on them. So he carved them into a digital workstation session, like a Pro Tool session. And then, that's where it started. And he'd send it to me. I played bass. Then Tom went in the studio and he cut vocals, and we started getting all the guests around it. And, and as that process was happening, I mean, literally Tom didn't go in and sing, I don't think, until maybe it was the end of June, first week of July, maybe. And, so by the time he got into sing, I mean, we literally had probably 12 to 15 songs already lined out. All of a sudden, Fast Way, and and I went through the Bachman Turner Overdrive song. So it's I mean, this record was literally conceived, recorded, and started mixing literally within 5 weeks.
Wow. My favorite thing when I looked at the track list was I saw Nailed to the Gun was one of the tracks on there, and I'm a huge fan of that Fight album. And that's kind of a newer song compared to most everything else on the list. Was that a Tom thing, or was that a collective thing from both of you to choose that?
No, I'll tell you how that happened. So I had a band back in the 2000s called F5,
right.
And we had done a cover of Nailed to the Gun. And one day, literally as we're having this conversation about the covers, I get a notification on my phone from YouTube saying, check out F5 Nailed to the Gun. And I watched it, and obviously Jimmy DeGrasso is playing drums on that in that video, and right away I hit those guys and said, dude, let's do Nailed to the Gun. And they're like, oh my God, love that song. Of course, let's do it. So I hit Jimmy and said, hey, you want to do round two? And so that's how we got him involved. And then he hit me and he said, hey, I've actually been doing some stuff with Andrew Freeman from Last in Line, and he would love to sing on Nailed to the Gun. And I said, no problem. He said, Tom's already laid a vocal, but let's get Andrew involved. And then Andrew and Jimmy also played on Over the Mountain, because we wanted to, put that track down. So, it's funny how just getting one or two people involved, it just networked, like one day Tom was on the phone with Charlie Benante talking about an unrelated matter. And Charlie was just saying, how he's bored and, kind of frustrated because Anthrax is trying to work. And, just like us with Megadeth, we're trying to make records, but people live in different cities and it's hard to fly. And of course, the pandemic numbers were blowing up, earlier this year.
Right.
So Tom's like, well, hey, man, you want to play in a couple of songs with me and David? We're working on this covers record. He said, sure. So, all of a sudden he played on 3 tracks. And, I just had recorded the Megadeth record with Dirk at the end of May. And so I hit him up. I said, hey, man, you want to bang a track? And so he played on the Lost song for us. I reached out to Dave Lombardo and said, hey, we got a few tracks left. I'd love to have you play on something. And so he chose Riff Raff by AC/DC. And, so it was just really great how this all came together. And even while we had Doro on the hook, we said, hey, we got a Motorhead song we're going to do. And she said, which one? She was really good friends with Lemmy. And we said, well, it's not one of the usuals. We're going to do Love Me Like a Reptile, because me and my friend Greg Handovit, we used to play that in cover bands when we lived in Minnesota as kids. And she said, oh my God, what a great choice. I'd love to. So I had Greg Handovit play guitar and do a vocal pass on it, and said Tom sang on it and Doro sang on it. So it's kind of this really cool, really rowdy three people gang vocal, pay homage to Lemmy. And it's kind of funny. So like you said, Rob Halpert. So Rob's got obviously Fight and a Judas Priest track on this record. Fast Eddie Clark has Love Me Like a Reptile and Fastway. So, a couple of these guys got some of their own solo ventures as well as the bands that we've all come to know and love them for. Which was really, it's just kind of funny how that worked out.
Exactly. Talk about getting Chuck Beeler back and, kind of that reconnection. How'd that go?
Yeah, it's funny. Chuck's remained a good friend with all of us in Megadeth. In fact, when we play in the Detroit area, he comes to the shows, and he, sometimes we'll even sit behind the kit, and we'll watch, now Dirk, but he'd even sit back there with Sean Drover when he was in the band. So, he's been a good buddy, so, and never causes any problems. Is never like, oh man, I should be in the band and your new drummer sucks, because a lot of guys get like that, you know how band guys are, you know what I mean? There's a lot of hurt feelings after the breakup, if you will, and then he's never been like that. He's always been just a real humble guy, and was always glad for his, couple years that he was in the group with us. And, so last year when I was out doing a solo tour, called Bass Story, when we went through Detroit, I hit Chuck. I said, dude, come up here and jam a couple tunes with me. Cause he'd not been out in public playing. And He'd gone through some health things and had some back problems. And so I said, listen, just get out here and let's go. Let's do this. So he came up and we jammed a few songs together, and man, it just brought back memories of just what a great feel and pocket he has as a drummer, and why he and I played so well together. I always played really well with Chuck, because he's really behind the beat and he's got this nice, really deep groove to how he plays, which, just naturally makes everybody else in the band play better. And so, that started it. So that kind of embraced our, reignited our musical friendship. And so, it was fun to call him up and say, hey, let's get you recording again, man. Let's get you on some vinyl and put the axe to the wax, if you will. And let's get you back out and, being a recording artist. You deserve to be that, So, so it's nice to, help lift a friend up and bring him back into the fold again.
Definitely. I got to say, I want to touch on the, having Mark Slaughter on. My thrash buddies back in the day would make fun of me for wearing my Wildlife t-shirt. And it's just, I like seeing that he's on the record and, talk about kind of that progression and kind of turning that perception on its ear, because I think it's pretty important,
Well, it's funny. Just a couple of days ago, I was driving home to California and Lick It Up came on. And of course, that's where I think Vinnie Vincent started with Kiss.
Yeah. And
then right after that, he departed Kiss and he started the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, which featured Mark Slaughter on vocals and Dana Strum on bass. And Dana and Mark became good friends and musical allies. So even, after they departed the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, they went off and started, Slaughter. And still to this day, go out and play as Slaughter and yeah, is it Stick It To You? That record.
Yeah.
In particular, I'll listen to Sirius XM. I'll, spin through the channels and I'll stick once in a while on Hair Nation, and then my Slaughter's always on there.
Right.
And it just goes to show how well loved he is and what an icon he is of that genre. And he hasn't lost a bit, man. He sings great. He still looks great. He's a great, he's kind of like Sammy Hagar. He's known as a singer, but he's also a killer guitar player. And Mark, he's still got it, man. And he's just always been one of the sweetest guys. And it's been a dear friend to me. We won't see each other for several years. We'll run into each other and it's like we're hanging out yesterday. He's that guy. And, so it's great to bring him in. And that was a nice fit actually with him on that and my friend Troy Lucetta from Tesla playing drums on the Fastway track.
Yeah.
And, Tom and Mark sound good together because I think all Mark might be a little too high. All Tom would be too low. The two of them together, they just fill the frequency map perfectly, and they just fill it all in. And they were really a great duet on that.
Well, you mentioned Dirk a few times and kind of shifting to Megadeth for a second. Like, this is his first album that he's been, recording with you guys. Like, how did the process go and how did he fit in? And like, what do you think he might have brought to the band that might not have been there before?
He's amazing, man. I mean, again, one of the things about Dirk, probably more than any other drummer, is he really, obviously he's great at the current stuff and, playing, when you come into Megadeth at this point, man, you got some pretty serious legacy to cover, and to really do it well. And, we've had some great musicians in the band, for sure. But Dirk is the guy who fundamentally channels his inner Gar Samuelson, and, it's one thing to listen to it, as a listener. It's a whole other thing when you're really in the room, and me and Dave will look at each other and go, geez, man, it's like he plays just like Gar, and to really know that because Dave and I were in the room with Gar when he was writing and playing these parts and recording them. And, I think the difference is Gar was in a jazz tradition never played the same thing twice. And if you asked him to, he would almost purposefully and rebelliously not play the same thing twice. You know what I mean? Because that's part of his jazz rebellion, because jazz is kind of the original rock and roll, man. It was the original rebellious music, at least maybe in that 20th century, I guess. I guess all music to some degree has kind of been rebellious, but that in particular, it had a swagger about it, and because Dirk is such a schooled musician, he's a great player. He can write charts. He can read music. He's got a great ear. He's, obviously he's one of the progressive, and I don't mean prog rock, but like the grindcore progressive. He's an inventor of that style of drumming, and really owns it and is respected around the world and around the drum community, especially for that genre, which is so progressive, that, he can come in and just add so much really special flavor to Megadeth. And, I can't wait for people to hear the record. I mean, we're just, we're rapping basic tracks, so I can't really talk too much about it yet because there's still some to be recorded, but, speaking to Dirk, man, he is a shining star on the new record.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Soilwork, so I was really happy to see whenever he got that gig with you guys. Between, the Megadeth album, the Ellefson album, EMP, and everything you've got going on, I'm sure you've been extremely busy, but without the Megadeth touring schedule happening this year, how have you spent your personal time during this pandemic?
To be honest with you, a lot of my personal time here around the house has been, I think right away, my family, we went to Costco, we bought 4 bicycles. We just immediately, my kids, we bought golf clubs. So we took up golf. My kids had never really golfed before. I've taken up golf 3 times, which means I'll probably quit it 3 times because I'm good for a while and then I stop. But and so between, we really got into outdoor living, and of course living here in Arizona, it's pretty easy, and the weather, is really good up until, about July. It gets a little warm for a couple of months, but so we were able to spend a lot of time outdoors, staying very active, with bike riding and golfing and swimming and hiking and just, really being active outdoors. And that of course, I think did us all a lot of good mentally, physically, just optimistically, rather than having to sit inside. I feel bad for people who are kind of stuck back where it's cold and snowy and gray skies. And, I know that because I grew up in Minnesota. So we, that I think is probably what really, kept us motivated as a family, and personally. And I think, even this summer, I made several trips over to California, and I'd always include a little bit of music and a little bit of work stuff in there every time I went, but then I just go to the beach, hang out for a few days too, meet friends at the beach. And that was nice just to, really enjoy, kind of in a weird way, kind of actually have a bit of a summer vacation.
Yeah.
Because usually I'm on tour, which, to me, touring is a summer vacation. It's hard to call, I don't ever want to call music work, because then it just becomes a shitty 4-letter word, and that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason we started playing music, so we didn't have to get jobs and go to work,
Right.
So, to me, it's the other 4-letter word, play, play music, not work music.
Right. Well, kind of a final question for you. You got the David Ellefson Youth Music Foundation, and you guys have done those Say Can You Stream events. Kind of talk about what that foundation does and your idea and how it came to be.
Yeah, well, the foundation we started in 2018. We started around Jackson, Minnesota, my hometown. The mayor and the fine people of the town and the community had proclamated October 9th as the official David Ellefson Day back there. And, which was very kind and thoughtful of him, obviously. And, Tom Hazert and, another friend of ours, Donnie Schoenrock, who owns Cat's Hog Heaven, which is a really successful barbecue restaurant there in Jackson. And he also houses now our Ellefson Coffee house and a nice little museum of my life and my history there and my family's history inside his restaurant. So they're the ones that helped really push that forward. And as I got word of this, right after I had been inducted in the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just literally just across the border, like 30 minutes away down in Spirit Lake, Iowa. I was, Megadeth had just won a Grammy the year before. And so just all this really great legacy stuff was happening, and I thought, I'd read somebody said, if you just live your life for you, when you die, it's over, but if you take your life and you give it to others, then once you pass, your life carries on, and then that's called your legacy. And I love that. I mean, that really, obviously you see it when you have children, your children carry on and you start to put your estate planning together. When you leave the planet, who's going to get all your stuff or, all that, like who gets the guitars and, who's going to live in the house when you die, I mean, just that stuff, and it's so funny because the one thing we're all going to do is die. Yet there's so much fear around it. And a lot of people don't want to face their mortality, so they don't plan for it. And I found, I'm very lucky. My dad was always big with estate planning because, we had a farm and it was a pretty big operation. And, he made sure that when he died, we didn't have to sit around and figure out and argue over what was going to happen to it, that it stays in the family and it just continues to provide for the family. And I've set my same family trust and estate up the same way, that it's like, you create songs and these songs naturally are going to outlive you. They're going to speak to another generation at another time long after we're gone. And, so the David Ellefson Youth Music Foundation was the same thing. It's like, let's create a foundation around, this day that's been proclamated for me back in Jackson. The people of Jackson, Minnesota, they raised me well. They're a great community. They're great people. They raised me in their schools, their churches. They taught me how to be a good neighbor and, how to be a good citizen, and, so when I left Jackson and went off to LA and we started Megadeth and, LA was, I never felt that comfortable in LA because it's a big city, it's very different from when I grew up in. So when I moved out here to Arizona, to Scottsdale, it's kind of a small little town, and a lot of my people from the Midwest, we come here. This is where a lot of the snowbirds and people, when they retire, they hang their hat here in Arizona. So it was always very comfortable for me. And the foundation was designed to do the same thing, is let's continue to take, the legacy of music and raise funds to be able to buy equipments and donate equipment when needed to give music instruction to the next generation, the young generation, to keep them engaged and excited about music. And our Schools Out initiative really came at the perfect time once the schools all shut down during the pandemic earlier this year. So it was really a beautiful thing where we had the house was built, the foundation was in place, and we were able to make some very valuable contributions to a lot of people around the world who weren't able to go to school and probably kind of were sitting there trying to figure out what this pandemic is and what does life look like while we're in it, and maybe when it's over, what does it look like? And so our foundation, I feel like, was really there at the starting point of all that to really be of service and be of help to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to all the music you got coming between Megadeth and Ellefson, and we really appreciate you coming back on here and talking to us again.
Yep, absolutely, guys. Good to chat.
There you go. David Ellefson of Megadeth, of Ellefson, of Metal Allegiance, of Attitudes and Altitudes, of his own solo bass story.
Right.
Of Ellefson Coffee Company, of the Youth Music Foundation, of EMP Label Group, of Combat Records, of the author of 2 books. This man does way more than you or me. That's for damn sure.
Yep. He's like the Army. He does more than us, like before 9 a.m.
That's right. But yeah, just if you're not familiar with all that stuff, EMP Label Group, Combat Records, him and Tom Hazard run these things. Doing a lot of great work with that. He's got 2 books out now. He's got the Coffee Company, of course, and then all this great music. I mean, really the past decade or so, this guy's been more prolific than most people in metal.
I get that.
And for him to just stay the dude that he is, everybody talks about it. You hear it from all kinds of people in metal that this guy is, quote unquote, the nicest guy in metal. And I mean, when we talk to him, he's great. He stays, he's humble. He's an amazing dude. And above all that, I still think he's probably an underrated bass player because his name doesn't come up when people are talking about bassists.
And it should.
Yeah. So yeah, dig into all that stuff, Attitudes and Altitudes and the Ellefson stuff that came out in the last couple years. And of course, this covers album that's coming out soon. Check all that great stuff out. I didn't mention thank you to Jody Best from Best Bet Promotions for her continued support. And of course, a huge thank you to David Ellefson for returning to the podcast. Hopefully we can say that again one day.
Right.
If you're listening for the first time and you're not familiar with this, we've had on a lot of great people in fact, we've had on the guy that filled in for David Ellefson for a couple albums, James Lomenzo, who was in Black Label Society, now with John Fogerty. We've had on Chris Broderick, who used to be in that band Megadeth.
Right.
And now we've had on David Ellefson twice, so we've had on 4 Megadeth members.
Exactly.
You count him twice.
Oh, okay.
We've had on...
I like your reasoning there.
Right. We've had on members of Death Angel. We've had on Alex Skolnick of Testament. We've had on Joel Grind, the mastermind behind Toxic Holocaust. We've had on a couple members of Battlecross multiple times. Who else is there anybody else thrash? If not, I mean, we've had on all the sludge, the doom, the stoner rock.
Kirk Winstein, Reed Mullen.
Mike Dean, Jimmy Bauer.
Jimmy Bauer, yeah.
And then we've had on Kenny Hickey from Typo Negative and Silvertomb. We've had on Tommy Victor of Prong.
Prong, yeah.
We've had on John Connolly of Seven Dust. We've had on Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder. I mentioned Sons of Texas earlier. We've had on both their guitarists more than once. We've had on Gene Simmons.
Trevor from Haunt.
That's right.
Gene Simmons, Bruce Kulick.
Yeah. Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses. I listened to Use Your Illusion 2 twice in a row yesterday.
Nice.
I haven't listened to it straight through in a long time.
Well, it's your favorite band, so...
Yeah, so I just felt it was due, and it's
right.
like... It's easier to listen to straight through than Use Your Illusion 1 is.
I see. I get that. I was always more akin to... Yeah.
Because there's a couple songs... I mean, I don't really skip it, but there's a couple songs on Use Your Illusion 1 that was kind of like, But on Use Your Illusion 2, I like every single track.
Yeah, it's badass all the way
bar
through.
None. I mean, if Coma was on Use Your Illusion 2, it'd be like the greatest album of all time.
Right.
But that was a random side note. So, yeah. All that great stuff. 286 previous episodes. The David Ellefson one, I should have looked up the number, but it was in the 100s. If you just Google David Ellefson Thunder Underground, it'll be the first thing that pops up.
Right.
I can promise you that. So, check us out at thethunderunderground.com. You can listen there. You can find all our socials. If you follow us, like us, all that great stuff. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Check out that new Napalm Death video and our recent videos from Metallica and some other stuff we've done. Follow us on our socials. You can listen to us on SoundCloud, Google Music, iTunes, all that great stuff, Spotify. Once again, a huge thank you to Best Bet Promotions, to Hell Hot Sauce, Sunset Tattoo, Med Farm, and DB Concerts. And until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.